Welcome back to another podcast of Road to Abundance, guys. This week we have one of my friend, Joey. I know Joey for maybe 15 years. No, maybe like 13 years. I think we met at the gym when I was like 21, 22, starting social media, and we've just been catching up since then. Joey is doing similar work to me. He was a fitness trainer. He's in the health sphere, and he does a lot of biohacking. So welcome to the podcast, bro.
Bro, thank you so much for having me. And the fact that you just said 13 to 15 years that we've known each other is completely crazy because I've never broke it down like that or even thought of it like that. So you just mentioning it like that blows my mind. It's so crazy. Time flies.
Yeah,
I did
man,
not know it
it's
was that long.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
I think the first time I heard about you was around, I was probably 19. It was like at Mouvement Action, like the gym, like the small one before they build a big one. And then we were not talking, but then I had a girl I was seeing and she was like, "Oh, I'm getting coached by Joey." I'm like, "Joey who?" And then she showed me, I'm like, "Oh shit, he's at my gym." And then
Crazy.
I came see you and then we connected and I think you were competing back then. Like, I think you did competition. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's way behind me now, though.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
we all started like that. So, yeah, man, tell me a little bit for I know your story, but for people, tell them your story like from what led you to become a personal trainer at a very young age because you're younger than me on top of it. So when I was 19, you were probably 17 or something like that or 18 and to the journey that you are now and being successful and why you do all the biohacking. So like kind of take them through the journey.
Okay. Well, how old are you actually? Now that since
I'm
you mentioned it, how
31.
old are you? 31.
You?
Getting old, Mike. So yeah, to take you with my journey, obviously, that question to whoever you'll ask, the answer can always be very elaborate and very large. So I'm gonna try to summarize it for the most part, so I'm not bringing people on crazy different scenarios with me
Yeah.
explaining the whole journey aspect. But yeah, I'm 28. I'll be 29 this year. So yeah, a few years younger than you. I didn't hit my big 30 yet. It's coming. um, but yeah, like you said, we crossed paths and connected when I was like 17 years old. You were like 20, 22 or so. um, So growing up, I've always been into sports, specifically ice hockey in Canada, in Quebec specifically. I played hockey all my life and up to 17, 18, where I stopped playing high level. Um, I was on a pretty good path to go play pro hockey, but stopped that. I got a slight injury, and I kind of things fell into place by themselves. It wasn't a day to day decision where I was like, I just woke up one morning. I was like, I'll that's
Sorry.
rough.
So you were saying, sorry guys,
Yeah.
there's a little inconvenience with Yoda and Joey. You were talking about,
Mike's kids.
yeah, you were talking about hockey. I think you were at the point that you got injured
Yeah. Yeah.
and it stopped your career, and then you rerouted into personal training.
Yeah, because the reason why was also I started actually working out when I was a month before my 16th birthday, so I was essentially 15 years old. Um, it pretty much started from there, that journey, just because my goal was to obviously gain size, increase my performance on the ice. And growing up, I was very, very small and tiny. It created a lot of, I wouldn't say negatives, but it would create a lot of disadvantages, specifically speaking, for my hockey career.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of got introduced to working out and starting to eat better to improve my overall size and my performance on the ice to play the best level of hockey that I could play at that age. And I realized also, especially starting working out, that throughout all of my hockey years and as I was playing different levels and with different people,
Mm-hmm.
um, I realized that I had something with me that was above average, which was the fitness part. And at every fitness like testing that we had with camps and all the just the hockey teams and the tryouts and everything, I would always finish first. Which to me, I was like, I'm super small and I had a disadvantage, but I really had that strength in terms of working out to my advantage. And I knew as soon as like my hockey career kind of ended and took, the right turn, or the right turn. I knew that at that point, what I had at that moment that I could use to my advantage was the whole working out, and yeah, was the whole working out and eating better um, aspect that I could just share with people,
Yeah.
and just share my journey with that at that time, especially when Instagram was like kind of just in the beginning. And, this, there wasn't as many people doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And not just with like working out, but with just a lot of like personal brand building. Um, there wasn't as much as there is now. So,
Mhm.
it was a good, I guess, linkage between ending that hockey career, starting with social media, sharing that story and journey, um, and to the start of like more social media too. So yeah, that was kind of just where that kind of took me. I did competitions like you were mentioning before in terms of men's
Mhm.
physique and bodybuilding
Yeah.
competitions. It That kind of piqued my interest at the beginning, but then after doing a couple of shows, I just discovered that wasn't necessarily for me specifically, and it didn't interest me to the level that I want to include something uh, as my goal or my thing that I'm driven about. Um, yeah, that's why I kind of didn't do any since it's been like 10 years. And yeah, that's pretty much like my journey. Honestly, nothing really like quote unquote special, but a lot of different things within those years, especially between my 15 and 19 years old, like that last stretch of hockey career. There was a lot of different stories within that story that really formed my foundation and who I am today and why I do the things I do, or everything comes from there, which like formed everything, honestly. Yeah.
So yeah, man, what you did all that journey that led you, like everything happened for a reason. So it didn't work in hockey, you got injury, and then it led you to your personal trainer, and like it's more like a health specialist because you don't only do personal trainer, you kind of develop skills, and you're kind of a businessman. You were like me, one of the first on Instagram and social presence and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
you didn't go to school, right? You just did the training, and then you started taking client, and you started having result, and then you've been doing this for like 10 years now or something like that.
Yes, exactly. I guess I could say that I went to school, but for a couple hours because I dropped out. Not even. I just did the the like pre-curriculum, but then decided, yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing this. This is not for me. At that time, I was like, I'd rather invest my money and time towards just other things, and that wasn't for me. But yeah, I guess that counts as not going to school.
Yeah. And I mean, you have now like hundreds of transformation, like you're doing amazing. You just release your app and all that stuff. Was there any like struggle through the journey? Like I remember sometime it was probably hard for money, and then you've been successful and stuff. It's like you've been living through the ups and downs and the roller coaster of being an entrepreneur. So I want people to understand like the journey, and also like nowadays you're way more into biohacking too, because you do cold bath, you built your own sauna, you moved in the wood, like there's a lot of things. So I find all that super interesting. I would love to hear more about that.
Yep. Um, I love the word too that you're mentioning, biohacking, because I never really personally even used that word or actually looked into that word. I know what it means and kind of what it stands for when you mention biohacking, but I find it super interesting that you use that word. It sounds cool, and I'm kind of learning that word with you just mentioning biohacking, because not a lot of not a lot of things that I look at or discussions that I have with people actually say the word biohacking, but it's a super intelligent way of, I guess, labeling all those tools that you're mentioning, like sauna, ice
Yeah.
baths, you know, grounding with the earth, meditation, or whatever it may be. But to just go back to what you mentioned about, like, you know, the whole roller coaster ride of being entrepreneur, or working for yourself, or building something for yourself for more freedom. Obviously, you know, up to this point, yes, there has been ups and downs, and not even specifically just financially either, but, you know, just with a lot of different things, which I think a lot of people could relate to, just generally speaking, which is
Yeah.
completely normal. But specifically, just like the whole entrepreneur aspect, presently, and you could probably even relate to this, as with anyone can who is an entrepreneur, or who is building their own thing or their own personal brands or businesses, you'll always want kind of more too. You know, you'll always have that other goal. You'll always kind of sometimes tell yourself, well, this is not enough, or this isn't good enough. But at the same time, you might be able to balance that and say, like, you know, I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm
Yeah.
happy with what I created. But, you know, in order to get to all those other goals that you have listed on there, or on that, you know, dream board, or whatever that may be, it's normal to always, well, I think it's always normal to be like, you know, you're satisfied but not satisfied at the same time with
Yeah.
what you built and what you have. So, um, so just with that, you know, I have a lot more to go financially with what I want to build, with what I want to get. But I've realized that over the years, that just with my lifestyle, and with what I want out of everything, or out of life, is I've realized that a lot of, like, my lifestyle is revolved around just staying simple. I've
Yeah.
realized that a lot of things, whether it's materialistic things, or friends, or your entourage, the atmosphere, the environment that that you're in, or that you create for yourself, I think for me, um, having everything simple, for me, is the best way. And it's that I'm saying that because it's helped me, like, um, have a better budget for myself, not spend on useless and stupid things.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably not a billionaire, or built $1 billion business, or you know, whatever that may be, or what you would think a successful entrepreneur is, but I have so much freedom on my end,
Yeah.
where, like, you know,
Yeah. And
that's all correlates to my lifestyle. It's super simple. It's not expensive. I invest everything towards myself, my family, you know, me and my girlfriend, how we could just increase our overall performance and biohack ourselves to be better.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I've realized that only over the course of, you know, these last 10 years, or ever since I began. At the beginning, for me, it was like, it's, you know, I'm thinking, like, you know, I need to make more money. And obviously that's something I think a lot of people want, especially, like
Yeah.
you're saying, entrepreneurs, which is completely makes sense. But for me, I've realized that, you know, that's just one part of the whole formula. That's just one little part of the whole equation. And it'll come, you know. It's what do they call, like, that it's a I can't remember the definition of, like, when you don't think of money and you just focus on, like, the
The
craft.
process.
Yeah, the process, you'll make money, like, without even solely just focusing on making money, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. I can't remember the actual wording, to describe that, but yeah,
When
it,
you
it's
when you enjoy the journey, it's like if you enjoy working out, your shape will be better because you'll push your training more. And that's why also I wanted to have you on, because you kind of did the same shift as me, the same transformation of like being happy first, being happy now with what you have and being grateful, and then the rest will come. And I think that's what I like about you. Like, we've been catching up over the years, and you have a very similar um, life to me, like in terms of all you do, who you are, the book you read, the meditation. It's like learning to be grateful now. And yes, you have like future goal, but the ultimate result in life is not all the material thing. Like, yes, you can have a Porsche, you can have whatever car you want, you can have a $10 million house, but if you're not happy right now with yourself in that $200,000-300,000 house, how are you going to be happy later? And now you have a beautiful relationship with your girl. She does all the biohacking with you, so it's like there's a lot of valuable thing that and when you mention success is whatever you decide success is for you. So when people think about entrepreneur, they have the $1 million in their mind, but the real $1 million thing is the feeling that they're seeking, and you already have that feeling. You have what I call the sacred trinity. You have wealth, health, and relationship. And wealth just mean wealthy for me just means freedom, and freedom of you know you're going to pay your bill, and you know that you have time freedom. That's wealth for me. Then you can have massive wealth and massive success that you built in the future. But we're not in a rush. You're like you barely 29 years old. If you compound your money for 20 years, you can live like, it's like at one point you'll make $1 million like a year, just compound effects. So the thing is, there's no rush, and that's what I like about you is you realize that that's happiness, and then I'll finish chasing my goal. And that's what I want to share with more men and women, but especially men, because we're such in a rush to get more of everything. And you kind of went like, I have enough of all that shit of society. I'm going to retract to the wood, and I'm going to build my own happiness, and I don't need much.
Exactly. And I couldn't have said it any better. You've said it really well. And it's cool to see also that you have that approach to it all, that mindset of it all too, because it's so important. Because a lot of people might, whether they're entrepreneurs or not, or people working for other people or whatever, a lot of people end up not even realizing that throughout their whole life, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a lot to be happy, and you don't need much to be happy, and you don't need all those materialistic things that after a week they become normal and just integrated into your routine, where you wake up and you're like, well, this is just normal now.
Yeah, exactly. Like all those toys and stuff, it's cool, but if you're not feeling full in your heart, it's gonna be like, people are like, I'd rather cry in a Ferrari than cry in a Honda. That's true, but I'd rather be fucking happy and grateful in a Honda than crying in a Ferrari. And that's where like, you gotta compare apple with apple. I'd rather happiness, and you can have both, but the thing is, don't sacrifice one for the other, which a lot of people are doing. And my question to you is, when was the haha moment, kind of like that you were like, I know it's a journey, I know it's a process, it didn't happen one, but you started doing meditation, reading more book, you started investing a lot of time, like it's kind of rewiring your mind. You did all that to rewire your mind and then become the new Joey, like the 2.0 of like, hey, I don't need all that. Like, I'm actually fucking happy right now. Like, what was the shift for you?
So the shift, I honestly, like, ever since like I started that whole workout journey and playing at a high level sports and going through like quote unquote shit, and being like really, really down low in the dumps at some point when I was younger, I think that was the shift. And you could call it a shift, or you could call it just a realization, or something that was the catalyst to ignite embarking on these biohacking, tools, or spheres of life, or however you want to label it as. But I always did have something where I always wanted to like perform,
Yeah.
better, or to
But in your
improve.
happiness, like, where
Yep.
was kind of like, because at some point you realize that, hey, I don't need all that shit with the money. I don't need to be rushed. I'm going to get it. I know I'm going to attract it. Let me enjoy the journey. When was that little click for you? More like probably like 2 years ago or something like that, like 2, 3 years ago.
It was when I wouldn't be able to say the number of years, but obviously, I think the beginning of the whole like COVID and lockdown stuff is where I think a lot of things kind of put different aspects into perspective for a lot of people, including, myself. I wasn't negatively affected by it. I didn't really have like my opinions on all that, but I think that was just a shift with just the population because of what was going around, around me.
Mhm.
Um, but you're mentioning the word happy and happiness, and yes, I think it was a question of happiness and realizing you could still be happy with less things. But I think the key like wording is probably also freedom and realizing how kind of grateful you are with where you live, with what you have, versus what other people around the world in different countries may not have and not be able to do. And I'm able to do all this. And especially now moving out here in the woods at the beginning of like the 2019,
Yeah.
that really put a lot of things into perspective that you don't need much. And, meeting my girlfriend too, we've always kind of wanted something where we were more secluded, where
Hmm.
we were kind of disconnected from all the quote unquote noise from,
Yeah.
people or things around and a bunch of crap. Honestly, there's a bunch of crap. And just to isolate ourselves and work on ourselves, build what we want on our property, on our compound, where we don't even need to leave only for like groceries, and everything is here for our family, our friends, and just our close circle of people.
Yeah.
um, because there's a lot of noise out there, and there's a lot of things where a lot of people get sucked into different things. They get influenced. They see things where they need to buy something to feel included. They need to go out and drink to feel included and feel good
Yeah.
about themselves. They need to do this and that to up their self-esteem. Like, it's a bunch
So
of noise.
let's say mid I'll ask you a question and then you can answer, and I'll ask two questions. First, are you doing journaling, including gratitude and all that stuff? And then second part of the question is, how does meditation and gratitude, and now you do a lot of cold bath, even colder than me, like we were talking about it, bro, like it's freezing cold in Montreal, like bro, you're fucking soldier going at like 36, 35 Fahrenheit, like I'm at 47, I'm freezing my balls, and
Oh yeah.
you're doing it in the cold, you built your own sauna, like you did a lot of fucking cool shit, man. And
Thanks.
like me, I bought it all, you built it all, so it's super cool. And I was like, I respect that. I was watching the journey, and how did it affect you? And same thing with journaling, if you do, like how do you feel that all those modalities affect your life and made you so much more grateful and so much more connected to the life?
It's a game changer. It's a game changer. You don't realize it until you actually do it on a daily basis and it's implemented into your daily routine and habits. You do
Mhm.
not realize it. I remember having conversations with people and mentors and just reading different things, listening to different podcasts and being like, this is a bunch of wishy-washy abracadabra stuff. Like, it's true. Like, I would see that, and I think for a lot of people that might hear it for the first time or read it or listen to different things, they might be like, yeah, come on, how could this help me? But honestly, it's been a game changer. And to answer your question, if I do journal or write down gratitudes and three gratitudes or whatever, I kind of used to do it on like a written format, but I don't do it on a daily basis because I do it during like my visualization and my meditation.
In the
When I'm
sauna.
sitting, yeah, mostly, or when I'm doing my morning routine alone, my breath work and stuff. Like, the amount of times my girlfriend and I are in the sauna and we don't hear nothing in there. We're completely isolated and we're just having that one-to-one conversation with one another, shooting ideas or saying like, man, like, how like grateful and lucky we are to have this, while some people, others, like the amount of uh, deep conversations and realizations visually that we have during those conversations and at those times could kind of link to that whole journaling or
Yeah, you're still
gratitude
grateful every
sphere.
day, like you're still
100%. And we
saying it.
list down Oh yeah, and we recognize it a lot, and it helped me, like, breath work, meditation, ice baths, sauna sessions, all of those modalities or those tools. I call them tools. We could call them whatever, but all those tools for me help so much to increase your overall performance as just a human being,
Hmm.
and it also allows for you to completely disconnect and be present in that moment at that time. I've
Yeah.
realized that without doing those things or implementing and integrating myself within those tools as part of my routine, I've never realized, like, the I only realize when I'm doing them, I only realize that, wow, if I don't do these things, these tools, such as breath work,
Yeah.
meditation, visualization, when else in the day am I completely not on my phone, not doing anything, not listening to no one? It's only at those moments and during those times where I'm not even doing nothing, where I'm just listening to my breath. I'm with myself, my brain. There's nothing going in my ears. There, like, no screen, no
Yeah.
words, nothing. And when I came to realize that, I was like, wow, like, there's aside from that, when I wasn't doing those things, those using those tools, I would never have moments where I'm like completely disconnected and with myself one on one. Nothing. Even on the toilet bowl, like, you bring your phone, for a
Yeah,
lot of,
yeah,
it's
man, it's
true though.
crazy.
Like, when are you not, like, I'm not saying you, but just generally speaking, like, when are you not completely disconnected from everything? The
Yeah.
noise, and it's also of how much in tune you are at that moment with just listening to your breathing. You feel your heart rate. You're hearing things in your mind that you would never experience without those tools. And man, it's been a game changer. I've loved
Yeah.
implementing that, and they're non-negotiables, I call it. They're non-negotiables where they're just like, there's days sometimes where I don't necessarily feel like doing it or pulling this out to invest my time into this, but there's never a day where I miss it. They're non-negotiables,
Yeah.
and they've been a game changer.
And it's insane. Like you said, that I like that you being like honest with the fact that it's every day. You got to do it every day. That's why I started the 55 days of abundance challenge, because it's the compound effect. It's like when people hear about, would you rather receive $1 million or 1 cent double for 31 day? And the thing, people are like, oh, $1 million. And the other one gives like $5.6 million, because at the beginning you see very little effect, and then by time it's like increased compoundly. So the thing is, people are like, oh, why should I do a cold bath? Well, when you're going to do it, you're going to see. And when you meditate every day and when you do your things every day, it's life changing. It's an experience. And quick question out of like curiosity, if you could only pick one, from breathwork to sauna to cold bath to
I knew
whatever,
it.
which one would you pick?
That's such a, oh man, you're putting me on the spot. um, Which one I would pick personally? I believe that, oh man, the fact that that my girlfriend and I built the sauna, it's hard to not say that one. But just with I think the question you're asking me is just like from the feeling I get of everything. I think the ice bath and the cold exposure, because if I was traveling, I wouldn't necessarily have access to my sauna, so the accessibility of cold exposure is more accessible, and I'm able to do it without any excuses. Um,
Yeah.
but there's benefits to each one
That,
a lot where I feel it. Um,
that's cool, because I said the same thing as you. Like when I was talking with a friend, and he's like, "You're doing so many things. If you could only do one thing," I'm like, "If I could tell my clients to do only one thing, I think it would be the cold bath, because the cold bath is going to combine your breath, your meditation, your everything. Like you can't think about nothing while you're freezing your ass in that tub. It's like you're gonna connect with yourself on another level. And breath work and all those, like breath work changed my life. It's probably my favorite stuff. But if you could do one thing every day, that I think would give you the most transformative experience over 100 day. I think if you take a cold bath every day, this is going to change your life. And people underestimate it. And they're like, I don't want to do it. That's why you should do it, because breathing is okay. Meditation, it doesn't require an extra effort, even training. But even for me, going in the cold plunge every day require effort. Every fucking day, it's a mental. I don't negotiate with myself, but every day I have to be like, Mike, we're doing it now. Oh,
Yep.
fuck, okay. And then,
Oh yeah, I could just feel it with you explaining me that situation because I totally get it. Um, yeah, it's rough, and that's one thing also from what you just mentioned. That's one thing that's super important too to take into consideration is, and I was just speaking to my girlfriend about this the other day, is that struggle or that battle, however you want to describe it as, but that struggle and that negotiation phase with yourself, that push and that mental talk with, I always describe, you have this little person, this little mic on your shoulder and this little mic on your shoulder, and this one is trying to talk this one out, but then they're battling. That's what it is. But in within those moments of like struggle and difficult things, that's where
mhm,
the good is, and that goes with anything. I I
yeah,
I the conversation I was having with my girlfriend the other day was I enjoy deliberately putting myself or going after things that are super difficult or where I struggle or where I need to like completely go into another dimension in my head where
yeah,
I just enjoy that struggle because I know what's behind it. So I think that's why also the ice baths and cold exposure um, aspect of it all in terms of struggling and being difficult, it holds a lot of value behind it, and
yeah.
it's amazing, and it's cool that that's the answer and response you're giving
Yeah,
to.
man, it's
um,
it's it's insane. And
yeah,
you have
I
like
had a, I had a question. I had a question for you
yeah.
actually. What have you felt with just investing? Because you mentioned me building like my sauna and our space here, but I also admire you using money or whatever it may be to invest in yourself too with for these tools
Mhm.
or to biohack yourself within
Yeah,
these tools. So what do you feel that it brought to your lifestyle, or how did it
bro, it was
improve?
insane. Like I always wanted it, and when I moved in a house, obviously, like I wanted it. I was starting it in Los Angeles, but I didn't have the setup, and I didn't. I had the money, but I was like, I'm gonna move. I thought about Miami. I didn't want to move the whole setup, so I waited until I get a nice house here, settle down to invest money. And the question I asked myself at the like when I moved, it was a no brainer that I was gonna invest. Like, I mean, the vibration bed is 7,000. I have a meditation pod that's 1,000. I have the red light sauna therapy. I took the one EMF blocker is 7,000. The cold plunge Excel is 7,000, and then I have a water machine that's another 7. I have the bed 8 sleep pro pod, it's like 3,000 or something. Like I invested so much money, and I even invested in the platinum membership of Tony Robbins, which is going to cost me 130,000 for the year. And I don't regret anything. Like that's the best investment, like you said, in yourself. And the thing is, bro, I could have bought a Porsche 911 cash. I could have bought like a Corvette. I was going to go buy actually when I was going to change my car, and I was going to go buy the new Range Rover. And then I was like, fuck, it's just another car. Like I already have a BMW. And I was just like, why would I spend, what can and then I found $100,000 investment on Tony Robbins, and then I also paid another $18,000 to do a brain hacking program, and it's the best investment. I tell people, and it's funny because the program I have, the Road to Abundance, is like 5,500, and people sometimes they're like, "Oh, it's a big investment, bro." It's nothing. Like it's nothing. You probably spend in alcohol this year more than that, and you just don't realize it, or going to the restaurant, and you don't even invest it in yourself. And once they start doing it, um, it's life changing. And I had I help a lot of people through my career and stuff, and sometimes people also had friend coming here and they realize how fucking beneficial it is, but then they go back to the environment and they don't do those habits and they go back to the routine, they slip, and then every 6 months you hear those friend and your friend, they're like, I'm starting again, and it's like, you got to keep doing. If you start slipping, it's a very dangerous game. And that's why I like to do it every day. So when you do all those modality, some days, if I'm like, oh, today I'm going to skip the sauna, but I'm going to do the plunge and I'm going to read and I'm going to do everything. But someday I only do a little bit of red light therapy instead of the whole sauna. And someday I don't do the plunge the morning. Like today I didn't do it in the morning because my girlfriend woke me up. She's like, I need you to take me for my eye surgery stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. So I didn't have time to jump in. And then I came back at work and meeting. So
Yeah.
now it's 7. I'm going to do it before I go to bed. But I make sure I do all the things, and it changed my life, and I know how valuable it is. So, and another thing that I want to ask you, because now you are in a beautiful relationship, you're very connected, your girlfriend, it's very similar to my relationship. It's like you both enjoy the same thing, you both do things together. um, so how did you manifest this in your life, and what is your secret or tips? That I know a lot of guys are busy fucking girls, but what they truly want is love and relationship and connection. So now that you have it, how do you nurture it, and obviously, what do you like? Did it improve your life, or you'd rather clap some cheek? Like, tell me from your personal experience, like, how did it bring you a better joy?
Um, so yeah, in terms of like manifesting that, I always believe, and this doesn't go for like relationships, like I was saying, it doesn't go for it goes for,
Mhm.
you know, family, it goes for friendships also, and just relationships in general, whether it's a
Yeah.
partner or whatever it may be. Um, I think it all stems and comes from building you first.
Mhm.
Because I see a lot of, well, I see a lot. I mean, there is a lot of relationships and a combination of two people that a lot of times sometimes it's so rocky or doesn't end up working, or their individual person is affected negatively, and that's all for to me is all it always stems from you first, you as an individual, and then together you're a team. And I think it's it has benefited both of us, my girlfriend and I, because we're good as individuals, and we both have the same type of goals, visualizations of things, and we're not affected by all the noise from the outside things. And I think that plays a huge part. I believe that the atmosphere to which you're in, the environment to which you're involved in, and what you're around could affect, has a huge role and a huge effect on relationships or individuals. It has a huge effect on people as a whole. So I think that plays a huge role. Um, and, you know, to also say that it wouldn't benefit me to be it's not a benefit to be alone. It's more of a benefit to be together as a team. And you probably heard of this too. They say, being at the top is boring alone. It's not fun, or however that quote is structured. I can't remember off the top of my head, but being at the top of the mountain or doing something alone is not as valuable, or is not as fun as with your partner or your teammate. You're together, everyone achieves more. It's so true. That's what team is as an acronym. It's a community is always better than one person. A relationship like this is better. It's always more. It holds so much more value. It's more amusing. It's more fun. It's healthier, and you come to realize that again, when you're in different scenarios where you're around different people or around different types of materials or whatever that may be. But the journey, the journey is much more valuable together than just with yourself. But that doesn't go to say that you can't love yourself or enjoy being with yourself at times. You have to be able, to me, this is just my opinion, you have to be able to feel good when you're by yourself as an individual. You have to be able to love yourself, to enjoy being in your own skin and feeling good by yourself. It all starts by yourself. Because if yourself as an individual is shaky or fragile, or there's a bunch of things going on, like how do you expect to be with your quote unquote soulmate or your partner or build a healthy relationship when your own individual is not full of abundance, of gratitude, of just everything? How in the world do you expect to build a team chemistry together, with being alone or even manifesting it?
Yeah, and did you make a list or did you have an image or a clear perspective of who you wanted to attract? And then for sure, when you share things with people, with your girlfriend, it's like building together, especially the sauna, the house, and everything. It makes everything more enjoyable. But you, like you said, you have to be alone. You have to be happy alone and content and powerful. And then you just join forces because sharing is like makes everything more like better. And also, after you let me know how you manifested and if you had a list of what you wanted, what's your like key thing in your relationship, like communication, sharing the same passion, like all that stuff? How does it play in your relationship?
Yep, that's a very good question. And look, before I even get into anything, and again, this, like nothing is perfect, which is completely realistic with everything. And as with everything,
Hmm.
there's always those down moments. It's just like cycles. It's like seasons: winter, summer, spring, fall. Motivation, if you use that word. I don't use that word too often, but it's cycles. It's cycles with ups and downs are part of the whole formula, and it's part of cycles.
Hmm.
And did I actually sit down and write, the I guess the attributes or the characteristics that I wanted with that other person? Not necessarily, but to say that I didn't kind of manifest it in some way or form, that would be false. I always had the belief that if everything on my individual side, where I'm creating something where I'm able to, you know, push out my energy to attract the kind of what I want subconsciously or even what I'm actually thinking of, then
Yeah.
everything is going to come. It's going to magnetize what I'm kind of seeking. So it's not necessary to say like, I'm going to pull out my pen and paper and then jot down everything. Sure, that would be a good way of doing certain things, but that's not the way kind of I approach it. I just approach it like, um,
You
I'm
did it
doing
in your
this.
head.
In
Like
my head,
you
yeah.
knew what you wanted.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And for me it's um also to kind of, because I'm not there like, I want to find or I need to go out and search. It's just for me, I was like, I need to focus on my craft, me. I need to build my individual to be able to attract and to also support
Yeah.
in a way this other person in terms of emotions, conversations, things that we'll deal with. So that was kind of magnetized. We're magnetized to one another, and um, you kind of manifest it in a way. Sure, there are some things that I either list on a paper or mentally or visually in terms of like, does this person, you know, take care of themselves? Does this person go out and get smashed every weekend? What does this person look forward to in the future? All those
Mhm.
things, are important, I guess, boxes that kind of needed to be checked,
Yeah.
which for me is important. And um, it's, we're, you said before, like a force together. You're a force together, which I think up to this point, with everything that we've been doing as a team and as a force and as a couple, like, just you build that chemistry and that bond that even that gets even stronger and strengthens. So I think just doing all those projects, or doing ice baths together, or
Yeah,
um, whatever it may be, like that builds a certain bond between both of you to have an even more solid chemistry. And it's also being in situations where one person may be more vulnerable than the other, where you're able to like help this person or communicate with them to help them achieve something. And
hmm,
uh, it's within those lower moments that sometimes
yeah.
um,
Support each other, like,
oh yeah, that's
and
important.
I think that the word that you keep saying that is the same word that I use all the time is to attract. Like a lot of people are chasing, but whatever you're chasing is chasing you. So if you're
Yeah,
chasing girl, the right one is chasing, but you're running in the opposite direction. If you're chasing money instead of attracting money, if you're chasing opportunity, if you're always chasing, you're telling life that you want something that you do not have. You're in the lack right now, which when you vibrate, that's what you were saying, when you vibrate from a higher perspective and you're like, I focus on me, Joey, and I'll become the best I can. And whatever is for me, I'll attract. And I know what I want because all the previous experience with girl, I know what I don't want. So now I know what I want because it's just the opposite. I want someone that support me, that love biohacking, that love to do all that stuff. And like, you manifested the perfect partner that wanted to live a little further away, do all those amazing things with you, and that you support each other, which is amazing. Talking a little bit more about like the future, you want kids?
yes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yes,
That's
for
amazing.
sure. Like, for sure. That's 100%. I don't know when, but yeah, definitely 100%. Like, I come from
You said you
a
want six, right?
that would be.
Fuck you.
Well, you're laughing, but my girlfriend can't hear right now, but she'd probably say yes.
Oh
uh,
my god, my sister
but
has
yeah,
five, bro. It's like going to Disney World. It's crazy. When I go there, it's one on my leg, one on the other leg. Grab me there, Uncle Mikey, pick me up in your arm. It's like it's like one day I'm like I'm tapped out. I'm like, okay, I need to go back
yeah,
to my Dougie and my girl. uh,
yeah. But yeah, I come from a big family, so like,
yeah,
to not be in that same environment, you know, getting older, I guess wouldn't make sense. And
yeah,
it's something
and
that, is interesting to me, and um, yeah, I just
And
don't know when.
talking about kids and all that stuff for entrepreneur and people that are a lot of people are busy and they don't prioritize themselves first. So we already know. I won't ask you the question about your routine and all that stuff. We know what you're doing. We know how your routine. You prioritize Joey first and then you work. What?
Mhm.
How do you manage your time for the rest of the day? Once you took care of Joey, how do you manage work? Like, if you feel overwhelmed and all that stuff, like how do you deal with all that?
A huge, a big tool that I've always used and I still use to this day, and I kind of sometimes drifted off of it, but then I've realized that it's the simplest thing that works for me, and I have it right here, which keeps my mind and time organized and structured, is a to-do list, and it's on a piece of paper, because I enjoy writing it, grabbing my highlighter or whatever it may be, and getting that check mark on it, or
Yeah,
highlighting it out, because
creates
I've learned
momentum.
that's the word. That's the word I
Yeah, it
use over
rewards your
motivation.
brain. It's like, oh, I'm doing good, I'm creating, I'm doing things. It's like that's why
So
you do cold bath, that's why you do everything. It's like every day you're building momentum.
that's what it is. And a lot of people, and you know this, like, you've heard it too, and you probably still hear it to this day, people always use the word motivation, But again, that's
Mm,
cycle. That's a cycle that doesn't last.
yeah.
It's not sustainable. For me, the word is all about momentum. Momentum you're able to keep like this throughout the year.
Yeah.
Motivation is like this.
It's like
Um,
habits. Like I don't believe in motivation. I don't even think this word should exist because people are like, I'm not motivated. Well, you're not motivated for work, you're not motivated for this, but you can video game for 15 hours or you can Netflix for 10 hours. You're just not driven. And
yeah,
driven doesn't come from motivation. It comes from putting the habit, building momentum, and then momentum and energy, once you move it, it's like a snowball. But the thing is,
yeah,
nobody is motivated. Even me, when I wake up every goddamn morning, I'm not motivated to do shit. It's like
agreed.
I wake up, I feel grateful to and blessed to be on this planet, and then okay, what do I need to do? Let's fucking do it. Let's crush the day. How can I be the most effective? You can prepare your to-do list the day before, you can do it in the morning, whatever works for you, but how can I be the most effective human being and be happy and fulfilled doing it? And whatever
Yes,
it is, you'll find motivation. And yes, you can watch some video there and there to pump you up a little, but it's like pump. You go to the gym, you do a few curl, it looks good, but then it goes away. Like
it
it's
doesn't
not
last.
sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And and the way you put it is very important because I say this to a lot of people that I have talks with or
Mhm.
whatever it may be. The key word, and you've said it a couple times, the key word in all this is habits and routine. Those two things are the most important ways of
Mhm.
building momentum or just building anything. It always stems from your habits and your routine. Once that is set in stone or solid, everything else will be easy for it to fall into place. All the blocks will fall, one on top of the other easier and better. But for me, it's always about routine and habits. As soon as that is well implemented into your structure and your schedule, you're on the path to like victory. That's all
Yeah.
about. It's always about routine for me.
Yeah. I feel you on that. And you have to, I would just add that before you do the routine, because a lot of people, when they have the routine and stuff, yes, you'll build your own routine, you need to stick to it, but why we do routine for like 21 day and more, it's because it will change your identity. You need to change your subconscious mind, and habits on a prolonged period will change your thoughts, will change who you are, you'll change who you become. And the thing
Mhm.
is, you just got to stick to it. It's like do it no matter what and change your identity. Who do you need to become? And that person that you want to become, the life that you want, what does that person is doing on a daily? So if that person is doing this, start doing it and change your identity.
Yes.
So yeah, man, I really love all your vision. I will end the podcast on asking you your top three book, your favorite top three book that you have read.
Um. So I'm gonna be honest. I I have a hard time getting into a consistent uh, routine or a consistent habit of sitting down and reading. There's one here that I'm still not done, and I don't even read it on a daily basis. But it's called "Extreme Ownership: How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win" by Jocko Willing. Um, but I wouldn't say that's my favorite. But one that really stands out, and I think I've read this so many times, especially when I was younger, when I was going through more of down times or anxiety
Yeah,
situations or struggles, was The Secret. And so that's probably on my list because for me, that book, and I remember now that I'm thinking of it, that book was always for me a refresh button. I would go there and just click on that book, read it, and that was my refresh. It would
yeah,
completely, like you said, refresh the identity or refresh your mindset or approach or just
yeah.
refresh that electricity inside of you. So I think that would be on the list and one that I would recommend. Number two, one that comes to mind is I can't remember who the author is, but it's called The One Thing.
Okay.
I can't remember who wrote that. And the third one, um, you're putting me on the spot. The third one, um, from what I still have a lot of books that I still even open and read that we've got recently. That
The one thing is by Gary Keller. It's a big one
yes,
on the book. Yeah, one.
yes,
Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
exactly. Mine was yellow, so I don't know what color that one is. It might be white.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one was good. And again, that book was just it puts things into perspective. Again, leading back to like the whole to-do list thing or having too many thoughts inside your mind to be
Yeah.
able to manage or to properly structure and organize your um all the things
It's
that are
like
rebounding
focusing on
inside your
one
head.
thing.
Exactly. So that was very good for me because, I'll admit in the past, we're high performing people, so to speak. So to have all these thoughts or things to do or all these, the to
Yeah.
dos all
I'm still
inside your
like that.
brain.
Like
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
we're
For sure.
human. It's like
Yeah.
if, and that's why I do the routine in the morning, because it helps me to ground myself and remember that, hey, like we gotta focus, we gotta do what we have to do. But
Yeah.
like growing up gaming and growing up on social media, my phone was always there. I'm working, and then I'm texting, and then you're texting girl, and then you're gaming, and then watching a movie on one screen, and then your work doesn't really move. And I would still catch myself like, now people are like, hey, you're not answering your phone. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm working. Like,
Yep.
so when I work now, I don't have my phone with me. It's like, because I know my weakness. I get distracted. I'll see a notification pop on my phone, and then I'll be like, oh, fuck, I have to answer now. So if you turn your phone, or if you know your habit and you turn it and you do things, I also almost always have my phone on vibration, just because I
Me
don't want
too.
to feed my brain with all those notifications. And it's been years I don't have notification for any social media and all that stuff.
Same.
And yeah, I like what you say. Focus on one thing. That's amazing. And
The third book from what's coming to my mind, and it's probably not the best example, but I've read it in the past when I was younger. I think, yeah, it would be it's called Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill.
yeah, it's
Uh,
amazing, bro. It's probably the most sold book. But
yeah.
you would have to read it again, I swear, because you didn't understand it the first time. When I read it at 19
I've
and
heard
what I understood now, bro,
yeah,
it's
I've heard
day
of
and
that.
night. You're gonna read it, you'll be like, did he change the book? Like he's dead and he came back and he reread it again. He's fucking with my mind. But
That's when you know it's
when I
good.
read it for money, yeah, it's so good. Like you can even I do a lot of Audible too, like while I run or while I do things. Audible is really good if you can't pick up the habit of reading. Um, like I like to read in the morning or at night before bed, but if Audible helps me if I go for a run. A lot of people run with music. I run with books.
That's
So
good.
um so
What, what
I
so
do.
so what are you currently like listening to, or if I shoot back the question to you, if you could remember, or like what
Yeah.
example have you read recently, or what are you on right now in terms of
So
the audio or physical?
recently I'm reading this. It's the magic of thinking big. And at the same time, I like to combine books. So at the same time on my phone, I'm listening to Psycho Cybernetic. It's like a doctor, not a doctor, it's a plastic surgeon that realized that changing people's face sometimes 50% of the time was changing their identity, and the other 50% of the time people didn't even realize that they had surgery because their identity was so programmed. So he was like, in order to help my client, because I'm not in the business of taking money just to change their face, which a lot of people are. This guy was actually a genuine guy. He's like, I could avoid 50% of the surgery and the transformation of the face just from reprogramming their mind and their identity, because most of people don't need the surgery and they think that they do. So it's a really good book on reprogramming the mind and all that stuff. And I have a whole collection of book there. I would say the last one that I read recently, um, which one did I read recently?
Or which one comes to mind where you're like, that one's a good book.
Well, Psycho Cybernetic is for sure a read. Think and Grow Rich, for sure a read. And I would say I have my top three. In my top three, I have more than that book, but I would say Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. You have to
Yeah,
read that book. It's a fucking
I
life
have it here.
changing book.
I still didn't
This
read it.
this would be your number one book, and then I would say because it changed my life when I needed it, and then I would say Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's The Power of Now by Eckhart
Yes.
Tolle.
Yep.
Um, and you have two books that would be similar equally. It's Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza and The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, something like that. Michael, I think it's Michael Singer. But the thing, there's so many other books, but those one, it's like what I do is I always ask people, what are you seeking for right now? Like what is actually right now that you need most in your life, and then I'll recommend a book. But those four books are general book that will change your whole mind. And then, oh, the last book I read actually, it was Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks. I just finished it. That's the book that I just finished. Um, Ask and life will give you, and in between you're there and you're blocking the frequency.
Hmm.
Like we were saying, you're chasing, you're doing things,
Yep.
but as soon as you ask life, life will give you. But the problem with human being is we interfere in the process, and we think that it's not that easy, but it is. And once you remove yourself from the equation, and you just also, we try to control all we receive. So let's say you're like, give me $1 million. First, you have to believe and feel like $1 million before you can have it. But once you align with that, maybe you lose your job, and then you're like, what the fuck? I wanted money and now I'm broke and I'm losing my job. And then you create a company and that company goes to 10 million. And then you're like, that's what happened. It's people try to control what's happening, and then it doesn't happen how they thought it would happen. And then they think that life is not giving. And let's say when they lose their job, they start on that spiral of like all the negative, all the shit, and everything is bad, instead of having that mindset of like, everything is happening for a reason. Why is it happening to me? And now
Yeah.
that's the most important question I ask myself is like, when something is happening to me, I'm like, what is the good? What is the gift that I can see? So giving you a quick example, when I moved to Miami, I got my money stolen on the house that I was putting money on, and it was a whole deal. They tried to steal like $24,000. Fortunately enough, I recouped 16, and I lost 8,000 on the deal. And then I had to settle down with my girlfriend, and then we found this house that I live now that is the perfect fucking house that I'm going to stay 2 or 3 years at. And it was 8 months down the line that we found it. And if I had signed a lease in that house for a year, I could not have found this house. So the thing is, the other house was very average, and it was like there was no choice. The market was insane, and I just needed something now. So the thing is, life has a way of showing you what you're missing. And actually, I went back to Canada for 3 months this summer, which if I had the house at $8,000 a month, that would have been, I couldn't have done that because I don't want to pay 8,000 and not be there. So
That's a lot.
I
Yeah.
actually went back, see my friend and family, and I came back. So life always have a way to do things and presenting to you in a way. And then you're like, fuck, it's not how I wanted it. That's why you react. You're trying to control, but
Yep.
you'll
That's
always
true.
be given.
Yep.
Just let life surprise you. So that book is a perfect example of that.
Wow.
And
And so I had a question for you, and I know you said like at the end of the podcast and stuff, but it's just it's good what you're speaking about, and
yeah.
um, we've known each other for a long time. We've
Mhm.
linked up when we were younger. You actually sent me a picture not long ago of when we were a lot younger at the gym and stuff, so I
Yeah.
found that funny. Um, but I wanted to ask you like what kind of, I guess, got you into, all of this for yourself, sharing it with other people. If
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you have like, a sports background necessarily. I know that when
Uh,
you were younger, you had like an accident with your motorcycle, if I'm not mistaken, at one point in time.
yeah.
But like, what kind of because it's not everyone that's like that, you know? It's not
Mhm.
everyone where we're able to, where I guess I'm able to have a conversation in this genre with everyone, you know? Not everyone will
Mhm.
be on the same frequency or understand, or you'll be able to say certain words where they'll be like, yeah, okay, this guy's cuckoo or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's a
So
lot. But like, what kind of was, I guess, the root catalyst, or what, or maybe someone you met, or something that
yeah,
you
it's
did?
a little bit of it's a little bit of both. So I played sport when I was young, but it had nothing really to do with it. I always had this thing in my inside of me since I'm a young kid. I was interested in Egyptian and all that stuff, and I was interested in magic and all the cool stuff. And I
Really?
was like, there must be more to life than what we than the system. I didn't like school. I was a top at school. I had like I found my grade. I was always top of at school of everything. It was easy for me, but I was like, this system is not working. It's not for me. And I was always trying to find a way. And that led me at 19 years old. I was not really happy. I had like things were not really good. I had the motorcycle accident. And I was in the bad path and I found Tony Robbins and I was like, fuck, I like what this guy is doing. And this guy is helping people change their life. And that was the click for me. I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be connecting with human being and changing their life. And then I dedicated my life in becoming the person that I could be now that will change people's life. So it was a journey of like 12 years before I really was like, I'm ready. I'm my higher self. I feel good about that. I'm where I'm right now. I can really make a huge impact. So in the meantime, I did fitness. I did a lot of things like coaching
Yeah.
people. And then I was like, no, it has to be more for me. And that was the shift. And I was depressed in the meantime. I went through depression and consuming addiction, sex, girls, and all that stuff. And I was not addicted to drug or alcohol, but I was addicted to validation from girls and all that stuff. And I know a lot of guys are like me, and I know a lot of guys have a rough path, and a lot of guys are depressed because we're chasing all the cars, the Lamborghini, and all that stuff. So at one point, I was like, you know what? I need to make them realize that this means nothing. Like it's cool to have it, and that's exactly what you did in your own journey of like realizing that life is so much more than just fucking chasing those things. And if you do chase those things, you'll end up miserable, even with millions of dollars. And one of my good friend, Tanner Chidister, actually made $50 million in sell, like multi-millionaire. And I wouldn't talk about it if he didn't, but he posted it online 2 years ago or a year and a half. He bought a gun and he wanted to shoot himself because he was like, I have all that money, but I'm miserable. And that's the problem. It's like, you think that money and all that those things will get you rich, and that also Jim Carrey says it in his speech, I wish everybody was rich and famous, because they would realize that
Realize. Yeah.
it means nothing if you're alone and if you do everything. So all that affected me a lot because I lived through it, and I was good looking, I had money, I was an influencer, I had the dream life, and I was miserable. So I was like, there must be another way, there has
So
to be
what?
another way.
So when you're saying, like, I was miserable, or all those realizations that were coming into your mind, or that you were looking yourself in the mirror, so to speak, and you were like telling yourself all these things, was there a certain moment that you could think of right now where you're like it was at that moment? Was there anything? Was it a
Yeah,
conversation with
the
someone? Was it someone that you crossed paths with? A podcast that you listened to? Was it a post that you put out on social media where people commented on it?
I
Like,
think
what
the
was that thing, if there is something that you could think of?
Yeah, I remember vividly one moment that it was like accumulation of things, but I remember one moment that I was very unhappy. Like I was 27 years old, and I tell the story that I was traveling the world because I needed
Escape.
momentum, like short pleasure,
Yeah.
and I was traveling the world, and I'm a hot guy. I can get whoever I want. I had the dream life, and I was in the Maldives, and I had a $50,000 trip, all paid for, everything, bro. The dream, and everybody dream about going to Fiji and the Maldives. It's like the bucket list of everyone. And I had the villa on the water for 7,000 a night, and all that, everything, bro. And I manifested all that for free, food included, food I was supposed to pay. They gave me everything. It was a blast, bro. But the thing is, I was unhappy, bro. I was depressed on that island, and everybody in my DM and everybody that I was posting my life on social media, like everything is fucking amazing. I'm in that
That's
water.
sick. Yeah, yeah.
Like everybody's like, oh, I dream about your life. I wish I had your life. And me, I'm just like, fuck, I feel miserable. Like I feel like I could die right now, and I don't even want to live. And that was like, for a while it was like that for me, and that was a moment of like, that's when, not too so much later, I found the book The Four Agreements, and I started living my life on those agreements. And the thing is, at that moment I realized that, bro, life, I didn't want to live anymore, and I just couldn't suicide because I was like, I have everything and
Yeah, it
I'm
was
meant for so much more, but it's like I didn't want to enjoy, like I had nothing to live for, kind of like I just, and then I was like, I need to change my way of thinking, my way of being, what I chase, what I seek, who I surround myself with. So that's when I was like, I made a shift in my life. And then I was like, I have to stop living for other people and start living for myself. And I have to stop having expectation and chasing all that money.
yeah.
And then life completely changed for me since then.
Do you find it's also do you find it's also like a question of, doing all these fun and dreamy things and then realizing like, bah, after 2 days it's just normal.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
is it realizing like, because you're saying you were getting all these comments and DMs from people saying, "Oh my God, shit! Like it's so sick where you're at. I would love to be there. I would quit my job to do something like that. I wish I was this. I wish I was there with you, or whatever it
yeah,
may be." Do you think it's a question of also like you realizing, or you going through, those cool dreamy things and being like, "Bro, it's like it just
that's
becomes
exactly
normal."
that. It's like when I got the brand new Mercedes, I got the luxury apartment. I was eating at the restaurant 5 times a week. I was having any girl I wanted. I could travel the world. I was going to the best destination, and I had time freedom and money freedom, and I was still empty. I was like, okay, this is not it. What the American dream, what they tell you it is, it's not that. And a lot of people will think that this will bring it something. So that's the problem. It's because they'll never have it, or they're not aligned with it, so they won't attract it. So because they justify that they're not happy, because if they get here they'll be happy, but once you're here, and you told yourself once you're here, and then you're like, fuck, I'm still miserable, you think when I'll be here, and then no. Yes, it's cool to fly private, yes, it's cool to fly first class, yes, it's cool, all that, but the thing is, if you don't enjoy your simple life, and if you're not happy just with yourself alone, you're
Yeah,
never going to be happy anywhere. And once you realize this is a game changer, and often you need to hit rock bottom to feel like that. And once you feel like that, and you're like, I can only go up from that low bottom, and there, like, there's always two things, like people can change, but drastic change come from massive pain, and you're like, I don't want this ever again in my life. And once this happened, then life start changing, and people, that's when they take action. And I know a lot of guys are suffering, I know a lot of people are suffering, and just for guys, like, the suicide rate is probably, bro, enormous, higher than ever before, because we don't talk about our feeling, and we have all those society pushing us to accomplish things and to be someone, and to have all that material, and it doesn't make us happy. So that's
yeah,
why I was like, I need to be the guy. And one other thing that I told myself is, everybody that's doing those jobs, they don't have my look. I'm fully tied up. I'm muscle. I'm like, I'm the young guy. So I was like, if I can be the cool kid on the block doing all that fucking shit, and show people that meditation and breath work and all that thing is cool. And if I can go to
people will
school
listen.
and teach people, like
Yeah,
kids, that being kind and being positive and being a fucking man is cool, and that's the way to do things. That was my dream. Like, to, because everybody that was coming to speak, it's like, Eckhart Tolle is an amazing person, and Miguel Ruiz too, but they're like 60, 50, whatever, 70. Like Tony Robbins is 63. And it's like, I couldn't really relate to all those people. So Tony, he was a little younger when I first encountered him. He was probably 50 something, but it's like, I wanted to be the young one to empower people. So yeah,
yeah.
man.
And just to connect to what you're saying, because it's so important. You were saying the example of like the Maldives, and then
Mhm.
not long after, when you were like, I think you said 27, 28, not long after
Mhm.
you discovered that book, The Four Agreements.
Yeah.
So to link, uh, with what I'm about to ask you to that example and scenario that you just gave, when did the whole biohacking thing get introduced into your life? Was it something that you saw online where you like, I'll just try it
um,
out and see how it benefits me and then share, the advantages?
yeah.
What was
For
it? Anything that sparked that on your end?
for me, I think it was a little bit like you. It's like since you're in fitness and you're in health and you're always trying to improve yourself. So I tried every fucking diet possible. I went vegan. I tried like uh, any fucking thing you can imagine. I tried on myself, and that was always for me to find the perfect for me because everybody's a little different. So there's going to be tweak, and that led me to how can I be the most upgraded human being? And then I was like, I heard that if you do red light, it heals the scar, the tattoo. It also heals your mitochondria. It does this. It removes the adenosine from your body. And I was like, I'm sometimes I'm groggy in the morning. And then should I
Mm,
take coffee? Should I not? I was always trying to be the perfect machine, like in terms of I had a lot of gut issue. Like from back in the day, I was bleeding like crazy.
yeah.
I almost died 3 times. So for me, I had because I was bleeding all day, all the time. I was always tired because it empty your blood and it empty your iron and all that stuff and it empty a lot of other stuff because you're losing blood.
Oh
So
yeah.
I was always trying to find way to um, improve my health, improve my mind to stay focused and sharp and all that stuff. So all that led me to all the biohacking because I was like, I need to heal myself. I need to find out to be more
Nice.
focused, better, more driven, more motivated, and whatever like it was back then.
Yeah.
So it led me into biohacking, and then I found like so many books on it, and I read so many things, and then I went to conference and events, and I attracted all those people in my life when I
That's
started going there.
That's so good.
Yeah,
That's
man.
it's cool to hear. I'm always curious. I know you were asking me questions, for over an hour, but I'm also curious since we're
No,
speaking to
it's
one another, and it's always good to get
yeah.
insight from people like you. For myself, it's always
Mhm.
good to get different insights and reasonings as to why people like you do this, or why we do it,
Yeah.
or what you prefer over something else. So I like it. It's just it's more data that I could use too, maybe to try out on my end or to
Yeah.
do more of. I still have to. I was looking recently at like all the red light therapy stuff. I didn't invest into anything yet, but it interests me a lot. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's probably the next like purchase that I would love to
Yeah.
get in combination with like right prior to the sauna or waking up. There's also
Yeah.
the
I'll
like
have
EMF
at
mats.
the end of the month, I'm gonna get the guy that I bought is Sona on the podcast, the Sona red light therapy because I combined both. So I'm gonna get him because his red light are very special red light. So I'll send you the podcast when I'm done editing it,
Nice.
and you will hear because this guy know everything about red light. It's his he's passionate about it, and that's what I really like because I did so many research on all that. There's so many different stuff, but Amy
Yeah.
explained really why he designed those one and why they're working better than other. And since you already have like some red light, you can buy just the lights. Like I have one light here next to my computer that I use. The red light help also next to the computer to block any. You don't need to wear the glasses anymore. You just
Yeah.
open the light, and then it's gonna block the blue light coming from the screen
Wow.
because there's a red light
Nice.
in your vision. So all those cool thing, and then also one thing you're gonna like in Canada is those lights are producing some heat. So you put that next to your computer, and then you're just in t-shirt, and then it's warming you up.
That's
So it's like
amazing.
it's like a little firework, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
amazing. But yeah, man, it's just investing and keep investing, and whatever. It's like the goal is just to invest slowly. Like I know now you used a lot of your money for the house and all that stuff. So then it's to slowly getting the red light and finding the right one. But for sure, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love it, and like you said, it's good investments to upgrade, who you are and what you want to achieve, and make sure that your self individual machine is performing at a high frequency, and
Yeah.
how you're rolling is also what you're gonna attract and manifest too. So
Yeah,
um
exactly.
it's great. I love that you're
And
doing that. It's cool that you
yeah.
yeah, it's cool that you're able to switch your whole approach with everything and your mindset, and I
Mm.
find it refreshing, and I find that it's also good information and good thoughtful shares from what you're experiencing and what you know and what you're doing, to put out there for a lot of people, because there's a lot of people just like, man, there's a lot of people struggling, and there's a lot of people that are not operating at a high frequency. And it's funny because
Yeah.
I follow, and I recently got more into listening to, his name is Gary Brecka from 10x Health.
Okay, yeah, he's good. That guy's
Yeah.
good.
He said something that really stuck with my mind is, a lot of people right now, the average person, so to speak, is operating at only 50 to 60% of their true normal. They're
Yeah.
operating at 50 to 60% of like their full capacity of their own machine,
Yeah.
and they don't even know what they're missing out on, with
Yeah.
that extra
I would
40%.
say
So,
even less, bro. I would
oh,
say
oh
maybe
yeah,
20, 30%, because
100%.
just
Yeah.
sugar alone is killing your clarity, your focus, your happiness, everything. And then people could function, but they don't realize, because if you're
They don't
functioning at
realize.
20, 25% all the time, you don't realize that you could be better. And when you do better for a few days, that's when you're like, fuck, I've been like weak. And I really respect you for putting all that work and putting all the knowledge and investment in yourself. And that's what I like to see. I like to see human beings that are like aiming to be a better person and investing in themselves. And if there's, I always tell my client or people, if there's one thing that nobody can take away from you, is who you become and the investment you make in yourself. Because let's say we're going in recession and depression and you would lose everything, you would still be the man that you became. And when things gonna shift, you'll still make the shift way faster than anybody else, because of who you are and who you became and what you know. So a lot of people are wasting time, but when you invest in yourself, money, time, and all that stuff, it's a massive change. And
Oh yeah.
that's the one thing about building wealth and the $1 million. It's not the $1 million that matter, it's who you become doing a million,
During the
because doing a
process. Yeah.
$1 million require a whole shift in identity.
Yeah.
So yeah, man,
Totally agree
tell
with that.
people where they can find you if they want to be coached by you. Like, you offer training, nutrition, and all that stuff. So tell them where they can find you, your app, your social media, and yeah.
So, personally for me, it's just Joey Hornyak, or J_Hornyak, HORNYAK, or jhfitnessandperformance.com. And aside from that, my girlfriend and I, because since we were speaking a lot about her and I and the projects and stuff that we're doing, we're very active on TikTok and on Instagram and sharing all of our projects, our
Yeah.
DIYs, what we do together. It's called the Hornyak Home, and she obviously takes care of more of those pages and the videos, but we share a lot and raw, authentic things from everything that we're doing. And we
Yeah.
started with literally no knowledge into nothing, and we're slowly building our, quote unquote, resort and
Yeah.
compound. So yeah, that's
I
where
saw it,
people.
bro. It's cool. It's beautiful to see. Like,
It's so fun. It's so fun, and we always tell each other like, um, no one could ever take that experience away from us, and
yeah.
we're building it together. We're building our relationship together. It's things that'll always stay with us forever, and it's so
Mhm.
satisfying too. The
Yeah.
things we learn through those processes, those projects, is, yeah, it's just
It's
incredible.
it's beautiful, bro. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
thanks.
I'll put all your link below. And yeah, man, thanks a lot for your time. I'm happy. I'm always like, that's why I leave the podcast open, because conversation lead to knowledge. And
Oh
I
yeah.
never put a time limit. And I just like share with you, and you're amazing, bro. Keep growing, keep being the man that you are, and keep leading by example. I know you have a lot of amazing fitness content that people can go watch too. So yeah, guys, if you want to follow Joey, go give him a like, share, a follow. He's amazing coach. You can reach out to him if you want to get trained. Obviously, I don't train no more, so I would recommend Joey. He's amazing at what he does, and it's going to keep you on the loop, and he's also going to get you upgraded on all the other stuff. So I'll see you in another podcast, guys. Amazing. Leave a subscribe.
It was nice.